Here's a little tip.
From our garden to yours. Wetlands are a vital part of our natural environment. Here at Mead Gardens in Winter Park, they are in the process of restoring their wetlands. I have with me today Tim Egan. Tim is the Environmental Resource Manager for the City of Winter Park, and he's here to tell me about the process that they're going through. Welcome, Tim.
Hi, thank you.
Tim, this is a big project here, because what was this like at Mead Gardens 8 or 10 years ago?
Well, these wetlands have suffered a number of impacts over the years, alteration of their hydrology, infestation by non-native plants, and then deforestation that occurred during the hurricanes of 2004. So we've been in the process of restoring the hydrology in these wetlands to get the hydro period, the amount of time that the wetlands are inundated, and the length of time that the level that the water gets to in those wetlands. We've also engaged in a very extensive control program for exotic plants, primarily skunk vine, which is a plant that was brought in from Asia as an ornamental plant and has since escaped into the wild in Florida and is able to take over large areas of natural habitats. One of the last phases is reforestation, and we've planted a number of larger trees out in this wetland now that we've got the skunk vine under control. That's kind of a long-term process. Even when you plant larger trees, it's going to be a couple of decades before we have that full tree canopy back the way it was.
So even some of the native plants are returning, and then you're also in the process of replanting, reforesting. Sure.
One of the problems with exotic plants or non-native plants is that they don't have any natural controls in Florida. So they're able to grow at tremendous rates and cover and outcompete the native plants. And you end up with just a few species of plant in the area that normally would have many, even hundreds of species of plants. So once you get those vines under control, the natural vegetative community of the area begins to come back on its own.
So what we have now is, would you say it's in the middle of the process of being restored?
Yes, absolutely. We've been controlling skunk vine at various levels for about 10 years here in Mead Gardens. We've been controlling it very aggressively for about the last year and a half, and it's really starting to make a difference in the amount of regrowth that we're seeing, and also the regrowth of skunk vine has been minimized, but the regrowth of the native plants has been tremendous. We're seeing a lot more native species coming back into these wetlands.
But it's an ongoing process. It really is with the skunk vine still, and other vines are coming back in too as well.
Yes, even though we're getting very close to getting the skunk vine under what I would consider a maintenance level of control, we're always going to have to do some sort of monitoring and maintenance of this area. Skunk vine is well established in the neighborhoods around Mead Gardens and in Central Florida, so there's a continuing recruitment of seeds and the plant back into the park that we have to be watchful of.
Well, you mentioned the creek. Let's go take a look at the creek.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about this area. Is it Hidden Creek or?
This is actually part of Howell Branch Creek. It's a tributary of the St. Johns River. This stretch runs from Lake Sioux through Mead Gardens and then out to Lake Virginia. This system eventually flows to Lake Howell and then Lake Jessup and then the St. Johns River. Mm-hmm. So as you can imagine, the things that we do here in Mead Gardens have an impact on not just Winter Park, but on all the areas and natural areas downstream of us. So the water quality efforts that we do here and the invasive plant management efforts that we do here help preserve some of the natural resources that are valuable to the state of Florida, not just to Winter Park.
So actually then was this area restored as well? Because I do see some of the native plants in here.
Yeah, the waterways, we've had an ongoing aquatic plant management program in Winter Park for decades. We mainly try to keep the non-native plants from flourishing in the lakes, which allows the native plants like the eelgrass that you see here to flourish and provide the wildlife habitat that our lakes need.
And so I even see there are fish in the pond, and I see other wildlife. I'm sure I see birds flying over. The wetlands are an important part of the natural environment.
Sure, absolutely. There's a huge variety of animals that use wetland vegetation and wetland habitats, and it's a very important part of Winter Park's natural resources and a part of the community to have that wildlife available for the public to enjoy.
Well, Tim, from the City of Winter Park here at Mead Gardens, I want to thank you for being with me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
If you want to see a wetlands restoration in progress, be sure to stop by Mead Gardens in Winter Park.